Hello, baby. Chantilly lace and a pretty face, ponytail hanging down. Anyways, I don't know why I'm suddenly thinking of the Big Bopper. Anyways, it's 6 p.m. and it's Saturday night. It's February 20th. It's a beautiful, beautiful day in Dallas, Texas, which is where I'm located at this very moment. And did I say it was February 20th? I meant to. 2021, did I say that? Did I say I'm in Dallas? Yes, I said all of that. I'm repeating myself. Repetitious. Ooh, isn't that a $5 word, Mr. Goldberg? Repetitious. Multiple syllables. Hi, Kathy. Welcome. Hi, Debbie in Florida. Welcome. So, I picked out some good music for you to listen to after the show. Please feel free to click on the links. And so what happens is I play music and I get a notice saying you're going to be muted in certain countries. And the United States doesn't appear. What appears is New Zealand and, like countries, I don't know anybody that would listen to me anyways, right? So I'm like, is that really? They're just going to ban me in countries besides here? I mean, that's not very dissuasive, is it? I made that word up, dissuasive. I don't know that there is such a word. Thank you, Kathy. I try to practice having a vocabulary when I'm talking like this in public. So I don't know who else is here, but I'm going to start my music that I want to. In addition to the 4 songs, you notice I'm posting more songs. Hi, Lisa. I'm posting more songs as I get caught up, right, Rachel? But anyways, this is one you've not heard before, I don't think. And at the risk of getting banned from Facebook, I'm going to play a little piece of it. All right? So bear with me. If you're just checking in, I'm just going to take a moment to play a little song that I like. It's a doo-wop. Well, it's a cappella. All right. Ready.
Your heart slip away from me. Don't let your heart. Don't let your heart. Don't let your heart slip away from me. Yeah. I'll keep on loving you as I roll. I think I love you. It's not any time. I promise you that I'll always stay.
I want to send shivers down my spine every time I hear it. Hey, Chris and Becky. Hi. So that's I can't remember who is that. I don't remember the name. Anyways, they're on the album Do It A Cappella with Spike Lee. And this is a women's group, and they recorded that one in the bathroom in a public restroom. I don't know if they actually recorded it in there, but that's where the video is, in a bathroom, as these 5 women, I think it was 5, singing together. And I thought it was great. If you don't snap your fingers to that jam, you died. You died. I hope you went to heaven. Well, I hope you had a good afterlife. Anyways, my point is, it's a jam. But y'all know, I've tried to make music part of the integrated thing with me, not necessarily playing it during the show, because I don't want to incur the wrath of YouTube and Facebook, both, by the way, I will get notices from. But I went with ballads for tonight, okay? The Battle of New Orleans, right, by Johnny Horton. Y'all know that one. Everybody knows that one. Big John with Jimmy Dean, the Reverend Mr. Black, and the Kingston Trio. Now, that's going to be the more obscure one. The Kingston Trio, who you all know from Tom Dooley, singing Tom Dooley. And I almost put Tom Dooley, but I'm like, yeah, everybody has heard that. You know, you probably listen to it a couple of times a year if you're me. Anyways, the MTA is a whole nother beast. And um, I just mean it's kind of a ballad. It's a protest song against the Boston Public Transit. So give them a click. You know, I mean, they're not the kind. None of those are going to get you up dancing. I know it's Saturday night. I should have been a little bit more upbeat. I thought, you know, go for ballads, man. Yesterday was classical music. There's been oldies and rhythm and blues, and you know, ballads were getting left behind. So I felt bad for ballads, man. Come on, you know, ballads, you know, deserve their place in the context of music moves and soothes, right? So, welcome. I just here's my promise to you tonight. I didn't give any thought to a topic. I just I don't know. I rebel against homework. It's like I always have. I mean, in grade school, I think I told you even in high school, I would read the stuff, but I wouldn't sit there and write the report. You know, I just rebel against homework and preparing for a podcast when you're not getting paid. You know, I used to get paid to do radio. That was different. I just feel like, hey, man, you know, we're paying me. It's like homework. I don't want to do it. Anyways, so I did not. I know that Senator Ted Cancun is on a lot of your minds. He's been in the media, but he don't faze me, man. Uh, you know, I posted a little thing and said, you know, that his intent was to go to Mexico and bring back some sunshine. So why are we mad at him? You're just going down there for us, for the people of Texas, right? And you see, he had a stuffed bag. Hey, Mark and Ann, um, he had a overnight case with carry on, you know, and his daughters take care. You know, listen, the untold story. He was going to pick up some natural gas and bring it back for Texas, man. Senator Cancun is got our well-being uppermost in his mind, except on those rare occasions when he's opening his mouth. And then on those rare occasions, he's advocating for somebody like Trump or some $2 whore that he's friendly with or something. But, you know, the rest of the time, you know, just think of him as Senator Cancun from now on going forward. Okay. So I'm not interested in him. I'm not interested in a lot of stuff, but I mean, minutes, 1 minute before we hit the airwave, somebody texted me. A guy tried to shoot people, not tried, he did shoot people at a gun range and shot two people, I guess. And then surprisingly, got shot himself. I don't know how surprising that can be. So my friend said, that's not very smart, you know, to start a shootout in a gun range. And I'm like, yeah, people that do that kind of thing, I don't think they expect to live. It's kind of like people that have a shootout with the SWAT teams. I'm thinking they don't really plan on living through it. They're just kind of going out in a blaze of fury. There's people like that. They're out there. So my guess is whatever prompted this gunfight in Louisiana, the perpetrator wasn't planning on going anywhere that night, tonight. And then, you know, I I was watching the news, and sadly, you know, this guy gets stopped. I forget where. You guys probably know. Murder by cop. Thank you, Debbie. That is what it's often referred to. Some guy stand on a corner, and the body cam. These two cops pull up. It's on the internet. It's very prominent on the internet, and they say, they want his ID or something. He's like, well, why? Yeah, he's a young black man. What? What did I do? You jaywalked. Now, I want to stop right there because I do want to say this. I got stopped once for jaywalking in Tucson, Arizona. No, it wasn't jaywalking. It was walking against the light. The light was red. I'm from Chicago. Cars were not coming. So we hastened across the street. Cop on the other side of the street stopped us, told us it was a $173 ticket each. There's two of us. And but he didn't give us a ticket, just gave us a tongue lashing and let us go. My thought was, yeah, he's right, but screw him. Really, that's important to him. Well, so when I saw these cops go jaywalking, my first thought is, fuck you, cop. You know, you're gonna stop me for jaywalking. You know, if you want to stop me for jaywalking, do it because I caused an accident. So I was crossing the street, and to avoid me, cars collided with each other. Somebody innocent got hurt. Don't stop me for a successful jaywalk. Anyways, they did. And then, he's like, just leave me alone, man. And he tries to walk away. You see on the body cam, he tries to walk away, and they jump on him. And they jump on him. And then one of them starts yelling, he's got my gun. He's got my gun. Well, first off, if you don't jump on him, he never gets close enough to you to get your gun. Okay? So you're a punk, the cop. And so he's yelling, he's got my gun. He's got my gun. Now, on the video, you can't tell who's got what. And by the way, if you're wrestling with a cop, I just want you to know this stuff. They all have what's called a security holster, which makes it very difficult to get the gun. In order to get the gun from a proper security holster, assuming this cop had one and wasn't like walking around in some cheap ass holster, you have to first push forward while it's in the holster, pull back, lift up. Has to be in sequence or the gun won't come out. The reason for this holster is, guess what? So if you're tussling or you're in close proximity, somebody can't grab your gun and use it against you. So security holsters. Every cop I know has one. Anyways, he's yelling, he's got my gun, he's got my gun. So the other cop shoots him dead for jaywalking. Now, I know people, Blue Lives Matter, who are going to say, well, he shouldn't have fought with the cop. And to that, I want to say this. Fuck you. Fuck you. Leave the guy alone. You're going to jump on his ass and beat him up because he was jaywalking. This is an easy one for me. Leave it alone, man. You're going to escalate this. You're going to beat this guy so that you can take him into custody for jaywalking. It's just like killing this black woman because I think she had a tail light out. Breonna Taylor, if you're too stupid to know when to exercise your authority, you probably shouldn't be given any authority. So they shoot a guy, an unarmed guy, who in the video is trying to walk away and be left alone. The reason I bring this up is I'm watching news. And when you run across a story like that on the national news, it's inevitable, if it's CNN, MSNBC, I don't know about Fox, they're going to bring in a freaking panel. And I got nothing against the panel, but they're going to start to tell you about all the other shootings you didn't hear about, all the other police shootings that were pretty much bad shoot. I know what a good shoot looks like. I don't always know how to prejudge a shoot until I have certain information. But once I have the information, I'm here to tell you, whether you believe me or not, I know a good shoot and I know a bad shoot. And I don't have a lot of sympathy for a bad shoot. Now, there are some shoots involving police officers. They're just borderline. It could go either way. You can't blame the guy for using deadly force, At the Capitol, you haven't heard me say a word against the guy who shot a woman who had no weapon and killed her. Because, as I said here on my podcast, he didn't have ranges of use of force that he could implement. He was a plainclothes officer. He was a personal security detail. He wasn't, walking a beat. And so he had one choice against a mob, and that was to shoot whoever got through the door first. He did it, and I got no issue with it. I mean, sometimes you got to do it. For instance, had you wanted to beat up Pence that day, right? Mike Pence, you were insurrectionist or whatever you want to call it, rioter at the Capitol. Um, the Secret Service would have killed you. Uh, you didn't have to be armed. You just had to be part of all that chaos. And I'm pretty sure the Secret Service would have gunned you down rather readily. Many of you, they would have kept shooting until they ran out of bullets. But they're pretty economical with their ammunition. They know that if there's a crowd, you got to try to persuade numerically. So you want to shoot as many as you can. Plus, there's usually one who's carrying a MP5, Heckler Koch MP5 submachine gun. It's a small submachine gun. It's referred to as a K gun. And they carry it on, one of them usually carries it underneath his jacket. It's 9mm. It shoots, 800 rounds in a minute. It doesn't carry 800 rounds, but it could shoot. That's the rate of fire, they call it. So I assume they would have unloaded that bad boy into the crowd. So, sometimes you just got to go, listen, the facts dictate use of force. The facts dictate the outcome. The facts dictate the trial, right? So anyway, so I'm watching, and this footage of this jaywalker being killed comes on, and now I am reminded, or I'm seeing for the first time, all these other police shootings, and it just hurts me hard. First off, I think cops should be held up in the highest regard in society, but that means they have to be paid well, they have to be trained well, and they're not. So here I have to live my life knowing that a lot of cops put themselves in significant jeopardy and danger all the time for not much reward. And that's great. But if you're part of this community of blue that is rationalizes and justifies inflicting violence on people that are not deserving of it, I can't defend you. So, and there's it's endless. It's endless. Police violence is just interminable. And we need to stop it, because in a society that has this many police and this many shootings, the paradigm has to change, right? You have to. You can never accept unlawful use of authority by police officers, especially when there's no recourse, such as somebody died. Now, I defended a client who was arrested for having some joints in his pocket. And here's the story. Cops come to the door of his house. I think they're looking for his brother. They don't have a warrant. They shouldn't have been there. They find the door is unlocked, screen door. They walk in, and Billy hears them. He sees these two cops. He's like, "Hey, man, what are you doing in my house?" He's got a dog. So, he's got a dog. Well, they say, we're going to shoot your dog. Blah, 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 blah. Anyways, they take him into custody, ostensibly for threatening them. And then they find some joints. They charge him with the joints, not with threatening the police officers. When we get to court, and I'm like, they really have no right. And Billy's like adamant, they didn't belong in my house. I'm like, you're right. But there's a public policy, and public policy is supposed to underline all the laws that you know about. Whatever law, criminal law, you're aware of, and it's probably not just criminal laws, there's supposed to be a discussion of the public policy. What is the government trying to achieve to benefit the public when they made this law? What are they protecting? What are they defending? What are they pursuing? So the public policy is you should never attack a police officer except when they're visiting you unlawfully with physical violence. Then you have the right to defend yourself. Otherwise, you are supposed to comply with police, get to the station, let them book you, everything, and then file your complaint. public policy. You don't want people fighting with the police on, under almost any circumstance because of the risk of escalation, people getting hurt, the threat to the officers, the threat to the public. So as a public policy, we tell people that you don't have the right to attack a policeman for exercising his authority unlawfully unless that what he's doing is causing you physical harm. Then you have the right to self-defense, as any human being does in the United States. We have the right to self-defense. So, I tried to explain to Billy, you didn't have the right. Yes, you're right. They were wrong to come into your house. But since they weren't beating you, you didn't have the right to threaten them with the dog or any other way, So we went through the thing on the marijuana charge, and I beat the case. And so you know what they did? Sneaky little bastards. Prosecutor goes and charges him with violation of probation because he was on a probation for some charge. And so they couldn't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that he had pot. This is sneaky. This goes on all the time. They charged him with violating probation. You know why? Does anybody know why? I'll give you a moment to think about it. Why, after losing on their case in chief for possession of marijuana, why did they charge him with possession of marijuana in front of a different judge? And I'll tell you why. Okay? The burden of proof is different. To prove somebody guilty of a new offense, you have to prove guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. And they couldn't do that, and I won. When we got to the probation judge, all they have to show is that he likely broke a law, which, by breaking any law while on probation, is in and itself a violation of probation. Violation of probation, you can send somebody to jail for. Right? So they didn't have to prove that it actually had marijuana. What they had to prove was, is it likely that he had marijuana? Well, he had a cigarette case, a Marlboro cigarette case. Inside it was some joints. So the judge convicted him on the basis of his violation of probation. Just a little aside. So I was a little disturbed, so I didn't really want to watch TV today. So I just went out. I didn't watch the news. So here's what I did instead. Okay. Because I'm trying to be cool, man. I don't want to get all agitated. I mean, how many days a week can we get all agitated? For freak's sake, they left us to die in Texas. If you don't live in Texas, let me explain what happened. They left us to die in the cold without power. Now, I didn't have that, but more people than not at various times seemed to not have power. So how did they mean for us to die? So what they were doing was they were taking our money for years for power usage. And they were making money charging everybody to use power. Everybody uses power. They were taking that money and distributing it to their stockholders and to their executives. In 2011, there was a government report that said, you almost lost it. You almost lost all your power. You need to winterize your power facilities, right? But that costs money. And there's no regulation. There was no mandate. It was a suggestion. So they didn't do anything. So here's why I say they wanted us to die, because when they had to decide between money and power, and by power, I don't mean power, between money and providing us with heat and such, they chose profit over people. I think that's pretty clear that if you chose profit over people and people subsequently died as a result, you're a murderer. And murder is kind of severe because murder says intentional. So you're at least a killer by a reckless disregard. That's such a law. Reckless disregard, indifference to the life of another. I would certainly say Urquhart was guilty of that. So I just spent days engaged in that. Jones says an 11-year-old boy in Conroe froze to death in bed. And Kathy says that's horrific. And I agree. I didn't hear about that. I mean, if that's true, then they need to start taking some of those ERCOT guys out and hurting them, right? But that's not the topic. The topic is that this was the first good weather day since all of that. So I've been cooped up. I've been watching news. And so I thought, you know what? I don't want to watch the news today. I don't want to watch this jaywalker be shot again over and over on television. So I went out to the garage. I took my van out of the garage so I could get all the water out of my garage, right? That came off of my van after I went out one day. And then I found I had water leaking into my garage from the outside on the east side of my property. So anyways, I got all caught up in cleaning my garage. And then I got out my shop vac and I'm chopping up water and leaves and dirt and dust. And then I land up doing the entire garage. I land up shop vacuuming everywhere I could in my garage. And then I went to the front door and I got all the leaves that have fallen from the tree that blow into my door that were dry, and I put them in a container, one of those leaf things you get at Home Depot. And I started filling that up, and then I checked all my gutters and I cleaned some of the ice from gutters, and so I was like, I was getting something done. And one of the things I was getting done was not watching the news. You see, Lisa says, it's so sad about the little boy. Broke her heart. Rachel says, awful. Here's the thing. I didn't need that, right? I needed to clean the garage. I didn't need to have my heart broke or to see something that horrific. I'm not trying to avoid it. I'm saying that wasn't the focus of my day. The focus of my day was almost to abstain from the news, right? So, and then just as I was finishing up, my friend Cynthia, who I walk with on Tuesdays, we couldn't walk this Tuesday because of the storm. She's like, oh, I'm thinking of going for a walk. I haven't been out since all this happened. I'm like, I'll go with you. So we walked 5 miles. And I got back and I set up my podcast. I played a little congas while I was waiting, listened to a little music. And here I am. And some of you have forgotten why I'm telling you this. I'm telling you this because what I'm saying is typically to have a topic requires one of two things for me to do. One is to watch the news and select articles, news events that I think are worthy of social commentary, like Senator Ted Cancun, right? The other one is to, go inward and find something that touches me that I feel like I want to share. I will tell you that yesterday I pondered this in the evening time. I said, what kind of person feels comfortable turning on their computer and live casting to people he can't even see about topics he doesn't even have? What kind of person, what shapes somebody that one person may be so afraid to speak in public that they may forego opportunities to, for instance, advocate for themselves versus somebody else who just thinks, oh, it's almost 6 o'clock. I'm going to do a live podcast about topics I don't have without the music that would accompany me if I was doing radio. What happens in a lifetime to shape a personality that some of us are significantly introverted, not lacking in intellect, right? I mean, I'm no smarter than anybody who's listening. So that's not what distinguishes my podcast. What begins to distinguish my podcast from the Jump Street is I'm just willing to open my mouth and talk about things I know, talk about things I don't know, respond to comments. So, so I'm wondering about that last night. I'm just wondering, where do I get off thinking it's okay to just log in and podcast? Mark says there's still no water in Austin. Electric outage is the major cause. No one knows when the water will flow into Austin homes again. Yeah, I mean, they're out to kill us, Mark. You know, I mean, the real deal is Governor Abbott's not sitting around going, "How am I going to kill the liberals in Texas?" But he's not doing it. He's not sitting around thinking, "How do I not kill? How do I not have an electric outage? How do I not let the water supply?" In other words, even though he's been elected the chief executive officer of the state, he doesn't give any thought to staying out of trouble. He's not the only one. Paxton, Patrick, uh, uh, Ted Cancun, whoever they are, they don't sit around and actually think about the well-being of the people that they have been elected to uh, to always protect the health, safety, and welfare of. That's what they're really supposed to do. They don't, in Texas, by the way, if you didn't know this, our legislature only meets once every 2 years. Okay. So we don't waste as much money on our legislature, some do. I can tell you right now, Lieutenant Governor's job to think about how to kill people. Listen, wasn't he the one that said, old people, take a bullet? It's COVID, so you're vulnerable. Take a bullet. Don't make the rest of us mask up and social distance. You're the ones who are going to die. Come on, don't ruin the economy over a bunch of old people. The mayor of Austin was on Good Morning America this morning asking other cities to send planes full of water. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. So here's the thing. Uh, Health, safety, welfare. Remember these three words: health, safety, welfare. Okay. You could also say education, safety, welfare, health, education. Okay. That is the underlying foundation of the electoral process. For every office underlying the, the election, the candidate is supposed to be a desire to provide for our well-being. That whether we elect them to a school board or to the Energy Commission or to the Capitol, whatever it is that we are electing them, the bottom line is that person is supposed to reciprocate their victory by then operating while in office at all times to benefit the health, safety, and welfare of all of the people that live within their jurisdiction. For the governor, that's the entire state of Texas. For Ted Cruz, that's the entire state of Texas. For the mayor of Austin, it's the city of Austin, right? So, how do you justify to yourself or to your constituency that you just didn't give it any thought, that you were not proactive, that even though you were alerted to certain dangers, hazards, and like losing power, that you wouldn't be up all night if necessary before it happens going, so if this were to happen. But instead, what they did was like Rick Perry, and they were like, well, this is an unusual event. I don't care. That's what I'm paying you for, man. I'm paying you to think it through. I'm paying you to anticipate the unanticipated. I'm asking you to think about that which I didn't think about because you're getting paid to think about it. And you all knew, and you disregarded it. Why would you disregard it? So you said to yourself, you know what? Come up 7 or, snake eyes. And they're throwing dice like they don't expect to ever lose. But clearly, the odds are at some point they're going to lose. You're on a roll, you're on a streak. Go to any casino. Eventually you lose, right? So why are you gambling with my well-being? Why are you gambling with my neighbor's well-being? Why is anybody who lives in the state of Texas, in this case, the state of Texas, have to have their well-being gambled on by somebody who says, you know what, I don't think we should spend money that way. Let me tell you, people keep bragging about we don't have a state income tax here. And that's true. By the way, I've never made enough money in the state of Texas to worry about the income tax. But be that as it may, I'm willing to pay. Um, I'm willing to pay tax if in return you will provide for my common well-being. Right? I'm willing to pay taxes if it helps people get medical care. I'm willing to pay taxes if it means people who are homeless might get housed. I'm not that. I'm not that stingy. Okay, stop, stop strangling us by not having any money. Wouldn't it be better if you collected taxes and then fixed the bridges, fixed the roads? Um, I don't know. I don't know. Mark says that ERCOT spent 40 seconds in the last meeting discussing the approaching cold wave. And Mark, you probably paid more attention. I didn't know that. I didn't hear that. High property tax and high sales tax. So we don't have high property taxes and we don't have high sales tax, right? We're very modest, but we give nothing, we get nothing. We give nothing in taxes, we get nothing in benefits. That's not a workable deal for me. I can't fix the roads. I can't fix the bridges. I can't provide for homeless people. I can't provide education in the schools. I, as an individual, can do so little for the common welfare, but I am willing to be one of millions of people who will contribute through taxes for the general well-being of everybody, right? I just don't have a problem with it. And I don't know why any of you would have a problem with that. I don't know why a Republican would have a problem with that. Listen, Rick Perry said we would rather go without power than to be subject to federal regulations. And I've even asked somebody who has served on an energy commission in another state, what do you think he's referring to? And he said, I really don't know. I mean, I know there's regulations, he said, but I don't know what. He said, this is just the way Texas has always been. And I'm like, well, to what advantage? What besides being able to say we're the Lone Star State, what's the advantage to not being part of a national energy grid where when something like this happens, you wouldn't be isolated and you might not be in a disaster? People with variable rates for electricity are totally being gouged. That's an interesting point, Joan. Apparently, I'm reading headlines about that. Now, I don't have a variable rate. I mean, my rate varies depending upon how many units I use, but the cost per unit, from 0 to 1,000 kilowatts is so much, 1,000 to 2,000 is another, and anything over 2,000. But apparently, Texas had this plan where people could buy at a wholesale price, but the wholesale price could vary. And apparently the wholesale price shot through the roof just now. And so lots of people are going to get banged, jammed up. Count your blessings. I don't want to count my blessings. I don't care. Now, you know what? I'm grateful that I haven't done anything lately. Let me tell you something. In 2007, I was worth a couple $1 million, right? And somewhere in 2008, I didn't have even 1 million. Somewhere in a couple of years, I managed to lose the bulk of my wealth. And it sent me into a tailspin. And I remember struggling day in and day out as this was happening. How do I provide for my family's welfare? How will my daughters go to college? They're not likely to get scholarships. What happens if they get married and they want to buy a house? So anyways, this stuff was keeping me up at night as I was losing my money, or after I lost it. And I remember coming out of an AA meeting, and I said to some guys I knew, I said, well, you know what, at least I'm not in a soup line. And a guy I didn't even know said, yeah, but what if you were? I'm talking about counting your blessings. I can't be grateful just for what I got. You dig what I'm saying? This is not a point counterpoint with Joan. What I'm saying is I got to count my blessings all the time, or at least be grateful. Because what if I am in a soup line? Does that mean, I'm no more grateful now? Not going to count my blessings because now I'm in a soup line. I'm underneath the. No, you got to be cool with wherever you're at. And that Buddhism has taught me to be cool with what it is, right? Don't cling to what it should be. That was really important to me. I was clinging to being a affluent white male in the United States, and I was not one anymore. And what was causing all my suffering, my lack of sleep, was me tenaciously clinging to the idea that I had once had money, and but for, I would still have. And when I realized it didn't matter but for, none of it mattered. What mattered is in the moment, I didn't have it. And in the moment, I could be okay. And I have been okay. I have a neighbor who normally pays $600 a month, but this month his bill is $17,000. So, Joan, I saw that Abbott is going to the legislature, and they are going to do something about those bills. I mean, that's what the first paragraph of the article said. That people are getting those kinds of bills. Something's going to happen. They're going to adjust them. So I hope your neighbor finds that out soon. I would tell them in the meantime, don't freak out. They ain't going to get no 17 grand out. Nobody for the last week. Lisa says it should be illegal for them to gouge power customers. Well, the problem is they weren't gouging them until the prices went up. So people gambled instead of going with a set rate. What Joan is referring to is people that bought into a system that depressed the cost of their power as long as nothing untoward happened to raise the price of energy. And in this case, those gamblers got themselves caught up in a crisis that caused energy prices to surge, and now they're getting hit with big bills. Now, I'm not saying they deserve it because they were gambling, but there's value in certainty. There's value in just doing things the normal way. I can't tell how many times I was approached over the years with a tip, a stock tip, or whatever it is, and I've always just said, yeah, no, I don't think so. It's too uncertain. I don't like uncertainty, except when I was living on the streets. Then apparently I had a high capacity for uncertainty, but that was a couple of years ago. All right, it's 6:43. Yeah, Joan, do tell your neighbor that I saw that Governor Abbott is not going to let them get stuck with that $17,000 bill. But in the meantime, I would urge your neighbor to get into a plan like I have, where you pay a set rate for the first 1,000, pay another rate for the next 1,000, and then you pay a different rate over 2,000. If you stay under 2,000, you're pretty good. I mean, it's not that expensive. All right, let's do some metta.
Your heart, slip away from me. Don't let your heart slip away from me. Don't want my heart to ever free. Don't let your heart slip away from me. Never let anyone on my side. I'll never let them come into my life. They say I'm going crazy.
Sorry. I'm not comforted by what Abbott says. Now, if we get our way, Lisa's gonna sabotage his wheelchair one day, and he's gonna go flying. All right. And yet, now we're gonna send him metta, Joan, huh? Now we're gonna have to send him metta. Putting our hands together before our hearts, and bowing our heads and taking a deep breath to relax. May I be happy, healthy, and free from harm. May I be free from anger, anxiety, and fear. And may this path bring me to a place of peace and comfort. May my mother and father, all my family and all my friends be happy, healthy, be free from all harm. May they find the path that leads them to lives of great peace and comfort. And to the Governor Abbotts and Ted Cancuns and Donald Trumps, and then the people we actually know personally who have harmed us or we feel have harmed us, let's just send them loving kindness. We can take it back later. Oh, may these persons be happy, healthy, and free from harm. May they be enjoying lives of comfort, peace, maybe even joy. And then may all living beings throughout the universe receive our blessing, receive our goodwill and kindness, so that all living beings be happy, healthy, and free from harm. May all living beings be safe, comfortable, and at peace. Satu, Satu, Satu. Thank you, Lisa. Hi, Rose by Rose. Thank you, Kathy, Joan, Rachel, Chris and Becky, Ann and Mark, and anybody else, Jim Collier. Oh, and if I missed you, I'm sorry. Rose, Debbie. I'm burnt out. I'm burnt out. I don't mean in a bad way. I just mean that I gave you what I got. I swear to you, 47 minutes. I gave you what I got. Didn't hold back. Peace out. Stay safe. Stay warm. And if you're stuck in Austin without any water, I swear to you, if necessary, I will drive down with cases of water. Oh, wait a second. There are no cases of water here. They stripped the shelves of it. Good luck, Mark and Ann. Thank you, Rose. Thank you, Debbie. Thank you, Becky. Good night.